Welcome to Do It for the Gram, an Enneagram podcast with your host, certified Enneagram coach, Milton Stewart, where we do it for the Enneagram, not Instagram. We make moves to improve our lives and our communities. All right, so this episode is an update and a thank you. I want to update because this past week, I was actually had the opportunity to travel and work with a company that is one of the Fortune 100 companies in America using the Enneagram. We did some diversity and inclusion work with that organization, which was absolutely amazing. One thing I want to say about that is just how the Enneagram can really level the playing field and can really create like equality for people when you do that, because it did just that. So we had different people in the room, from like top execs to people who are in the middle of the company. And sometimes there can be like a gap or a distance between them and how these people interact. And it also can be difficult for people who of different race and different classes actually deal and communicate with each other. And the way that we use the Enneagram helped infuse them all to work together well. And the people in the room who were the people being paired with the top execs, who are really, really good, hardworking people who were just not, because if you know anything about the glass ceiling, in a lot of organizations and companies, the top is only filled with older white men who are executives who've been there quite a while. And it's usually not diverse. It's usually not very many women. If there are women, and if there are women, they're usually only white women, and they're very few. So what this program did is one of them that helps to actually elevate people who are not typically white male, and it helps to pair them with one of the executives who is typically a white male, but there are some women, and there was one black male. And so it helped to pair these two people together throughout the organization to help move people past the glass ceiling, who are diverse and different than the typical of what that organization usually has in those positions. And one of the biggest reasons why is because it was stifling their creativity, productivity, and bottom lines. When you have a diverse group of people, you have a diverse group of thoughts, and you come out with a lot of creative and great results. And so we talked about a lot of tough issues and subjects that a lot of companies and corporations don't talk about. And there were some very passionate discussions, very deep. I mean, people who are like, we're talking about people who get results, top of the line people. I was by far one of the poorest people in the room, which was great because that means I was in a good place doing some good things. And so these are people who are crushing it in the organization, from the top execs to the people who we paired with them, who were in the organization more or less in the middle. And so pairing them together, the Enneagram helped really create a bond between them, and because they found commonality throughout everything that they were doing, like throughout their lives. Like, wow, you do this and I do this based on the Enneagram. This is interesting. So they were, super intrigued in it. And it's interesting because none of them had actually heard of the Enneagram. Shocked me. I was like, no one in this room out of all you people have heard of the Enneagram, and none of them did. And so the consultant team that I went up there with, we did an amazing job of adjusting on the fly, because sometimes, things don't go according directly to plans, but they turn out even better than you scripted or planned it. And so allowing a lot of the people who were in the middle, I would say middle management, kind of talk and express themselves and things that they go through on a daily basis was extremely powerful. One of the most powerful things was understanding just how things such as racial fatigue, psychological safety in the workplace, which is super important. If you can actually be yourself and bring all the gifts and talents you bring to the table, instead of having to morph into someone else's idea of professionalism, which I'm not going to get too specific about on this episode, but how that word even came about, who derived professionalism in the American term. It's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. But we unpacked a lot of those things. We unpacked privilege and how that works in different areas in work, and not only privilege as in white privilege as the main thing people would think of, but also Enneagram type privilege. Like, what advantage do you naturally have over people that you were just born with, born into, given to, just so happen? Like that, those are also privileges as well, even though sometimes we don't see it. Those are advantages that you have that you just naturally were born with. So, we talked about that, which was really good, and that helped impact some things. And so I was just I really feel blessed to be able to be a part of that, about of a organization that is one of the top organizations in America, that actually wants to create change and actually wants to bring diversity and inclusion into their picture of the way that they work and inside their company, because there's a lot of work to be done inside of organizations. And one of the people there, one of his comments was, I know we can change our organization if we do what we're supposed to do. And this is one of the top execs, to actually make it diverse and inclusive so we can actually be globally more effective. He said, but I don't know about, we can change the world. And, me and the consulting team, we totally disagreed. We was like, if you change where you are and the people around you and your organization, you're changing the world, because everyone is still connected to the outer world, even within any company or organization. It was really powerful to see some of the top execs of this company want to stand up against people with racial tendencies, racist tendencies, racism, sexism, ageism, all the isms you can think of. It was really powerful to be there with people who were like, I'm appalled that this is happening in my company, and I've yet to realize it. But now that I do realize that it impacts it so much and so heavily, I am going to work so hard to make sure that this doesn't continue happening, and I'm going to confront it. And so I think that's just extremely powerful, and I'm super thankful to those individuals who stood up and are stepping up to the plate, because the real work begins once we leave the work that we did up there. So I'm super thankful and glad for that. And so obviously that took up this whole last week for me. So I'm super tired. That's why I couldn't get out this next growth work episode 4. So all of the Enneagram 4s listening and the people listening just for the growth work 4 episode, thank you so much for your patience. But I'm super tired with jet lag, and I'm just recording this literally probably 4 hours before Monday actually comes around. So I just wanted to get something out to make sure I communicate why the Growth Work 4 has not been dropped. But it will be dropped this coming Monday for sure. I will make sure that gets out. And I just want to do it justice. I don't want to record an episode and I'm like super wompy and tired and just out of it. I want to give my best every time I step into the booth. No, every time I step on the mic, I want to just make sure I communicate the things that are important, and make sure I'm helping and make sure I'm doing the best that I can do for you. And the last thing is that I just want to thank every single listener who is listening. I can't tell you how many people reach out to me over Instagram, or people that I even know who start listening to the podcast and have thanked me and say that I'm doing a good job and that they really appreciate the podcast. And they're just enthused about what I'm doing. And so I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I'm very grateful for all your support. That keeps me going. That's part of what keeps me going. Let me say that. It's not the whole piece, but it's part of what keeps me going. And it does me really good to know that I am actually being effective and helping a lot of people. So I thank you so much. If you need to reach me, for the people who've already reached out to me on Instagram, I'm super easy to reach. You can follow me on Instagram, or you can email me. I respond pretty well, I would say. And so if you just need to contact me for some reason, you're wondering about something Enneagram wise, or possibly consulting work, or anything, just reach out to me. I'm very easy to reach. And so, yeah, we can do that. But this is just a major thank you to you all the listeners from every single place around the world who listen. I'm extremely thankful, and I'm going to keep making episodes. Growth Work 4 is coming next. Thank you for being patient with me. And thank you for everything that you do. And I hope that wherever you are, that you're making a great impact on the people who you love. And you're changing and developing yourself all the while you're doing it. All right, then. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.